you so much. 반갑습니다. Aloha kako. That's Hawaiian for same thing. 반갑습니다. I would like to read this piece that I prepared for this, and as I wrote this months ago in preparation, but starting from Sunday, from talking to people at the opening ceremony dinner, and then coming to the Monday sessions and Tuesday and today, I wish I could rewrite this in some ways, but I'm going to stick with this. And I before coming here, in my hotel room this morning, I wanted to preface this essay, this reading, and I was sketching out ideas, and I put a whole bunch of ideas here, and I was just like, no, I can't go over this because this will be 1 hour talking, So I just thought that, again, I thought maybe I might address a few things and then just go right into reading my essay, and I'll spend, I'll promise me a couple minutes. I just wanted to throw out some ideas, and one of the things is, I think, what's coming to me, of course, it's always been my practice, is that literature, in a lot of ways, is subversive. Because, when you're studying literature, you get to see other things. Also, too, and which I've been hearing a lot, too. The other thing, too, is that I remember going to a children's theater in Honolulu where I was writing a children's play, and the artistic director told me to come, and I sat in the back of an audience of children, and he told me, this is very subversive because you get to talk to these people when they're really young, and they're wooden, they can shape. And one of the things that a play and all literature can do is you can put someone into someone else's shoes, and you can experience them. And those shoes could be a North Korean, it could be a Palestinian, it could be someone who is not of your own sexual orientation and stuff, and not of your gender and stuff, And I think those are so subversive for us, as writers, and all of you, we all have a privilege in a way of being here. I was talking to someone earlier that each of these chairs here, 1,000, 10,000 people wish they were sitting here, and they had the privilege to be able to sit here and listen or talk about these ideas and such. But many of them, of course, have to work outside, 2 jobs, and work for a minimum wage and such, and they don't have the privilege. And I think in some ways, we are all activists. We all have to, we need to kind of move on, because I think that was one of the themes too, is that we're activists. I don't like the idea of an activist as some freak, some individual who wants to organize just certain things. I think that we all have to do that. We have to go out there. And it's really our responsibility of such. There was some question of the Han, what Han is. My question is, like in Im Cho-woo, he was talking about the Yemeni people in Jeju-do, and he's talking about the concerns that other people are looking at him. What is the Yemeni word for Han? In Hawaiian, the close word would be kue. Kue. That's the Hawaiian people have lost their lands, have lost the language and such. Kue. For African Americans, the blues. Wake up in the morning and know that the whole world, the racist world is against you and stuff. So I just tossing these things out, and I'll stop here because I can go on for 2 hours. So I just want to kind of read my thing here. But I just, what I'm saying is that this conference is so amazing. So, and I wish we could continue this everywhere we go. Every one of us can continue for our own conferences elsewhere. And Brother Anthony's there. We want to organize one at the University of Hawaii next year. So I just want to read this thing that I wrote for the LTI. It's called The Smell of Old Wood. 외할머니's Power of Storytelling. In my childhood, it was a smell of old wood that would give me the sense of my Koreanness, that I was connected to a faraway land that all of my grandparents had come from. It was from that distant place of their language where the smells of the home kitchen originated. and for where those stories, my 외할아버지 or 외할머니 were created. I did not know my 할아버지, my Pak Ho Byung from Anju, Pyeongnam-do, or my 할머니 Kim Suk-an from Wonsan, Hamyongnam-do. Both of them died before I was born. My 할아버지 in Severance Hospital before World War II from a blood infection. My 할머니 from appendicitis 6 months after my father was born in Wailua, Oahu, Hawaii. Because my grandfather, a captain in the Salvation Army, thought it best that the family pray for her recovery rather than take her to a hospital. During my childhood, Sunday mornings were always spent at the First Korean Methodist Church on Keomoku Street in Honolulu. And always, lunch and afternoons were at the Korean National Association, the Kuminhue, headquarters on Rook Avenue in Nuuanu Valley. It was there at the clubhouse, which was purchased by KNA from the son of the Portuguese general of Portugal in 1947, years before I was born, that the smell of old wood, unmistakably pine, gave me the organic sense of myself and Korea. It must have been from the furniture, small fixtures, and other items from the old country in the high ceiling rooms that I associated with my 외할아버지 and 외할머니, Yang Eun-wan of Pyeongnam-do and Im Sok-ok-sun of Kaesong, Gyeonggi-do, both of whom I grew up with, though my 할아버지 passed away when I was in kindergarten. Or it may have been the redolence from the tall pine trees on the mountain slopes behind, brought down by the Hawaiian trade winds that swept through the buildings, some remaining in hidden nooks and corners, the smell aging and deepening with time. I remember those days at the clubhouse of food and merriment, and changu beating and nadari blaring, and my 할머니 and the other 할머nis swirling and dance with half-closed eyes as they returned to their childhoods in a long-left place nearly 5,000 miles away. I also remember not liking the music and would take off with other children my age to play hide and seek or American football. And through my 할머니's stories and from the other 할아버지 and 할머니, I had to call all of them by these names. I also learned about Korea's history, about Korea's past, that Korea's boundaries are not confined to the Yalu and Tuman rivers, but that Chosun's land extended far into Manchuria, that Korea had endured so many injustices from neighboring countries, especially from the bloody and oppressive Japanese imperial government, that Korea invented the first movable printing press, that Korea invented the first submarine, and so on and on. My father, my abaji, he said, Korea invented everything in the world. This orality, these many things of Koreans, of stories by my 할머니 that I had listened to for as long as I could remember, were my first touches with the oral history of Korea. As I moved through the American education system, my 할머니 occasionally would remind me through words and stories and just her presence, something that I had to do. 이야기가 한국에 가거라. Gary will go to Korea. As a child and young adult, I often wondered what it would be like to go to Korea and visit a land where my grandparents grew up and had left very early in their lives to come to Korea. There was, of course, a difficulty in fulfilling this aspiration because my grandparents, they all came from North Korea. At that time, it wasn't considered North Korea, but then the division in 1945. 이야기가 한국에 가거라. It was an interesting and turbulent time that I grew up in as a teenager and young adult, the rock music of the 60s, the American countercultures, and so on. I went away to university on the east coast of the United States, came home to Hawaii, and soon after got married and raised a family. 이야기가 한국에 가거라. A part of me was always directing me to be a writer, starting with the writing of poetry, realizing I was a terrible poet. I began to sketch out scenarios and plots and things in composition books. I wrote several mediocre novels. And then using a pseudonym, I published a short story, and that began my thing. 이야기가 한국에 가거라. I continued to write. I began drafting novels and so on based on the oral histories of my mother and her older sister, and an episode of my grandfather. This is about a Korean laborer in a Hawaiian plantation. I kept on tapping into that story, rewriting and writing and so on like that, and working various jobs. I was a taxi driver. I was a delivery person. I was a blueprint. I did all kinds of jobs before I went back to college to get my advanced degrees. Finally, after 16 years of revision and writing, rewriting, it got published as a rice paper airplane. 이야기가 한국에 가거라. I took a job in the college level, and then 2002 I received a Fulbright award. There was no question where I was going. 이야기가 한국에 가거라. I was 50 years old when I first came to Korea for the first time. And I was with this naive romanticism, what's going on? And I came to Korea and wow, this is not Korea. This is not what my grandparents told me. There's flush toilets. There's tall buildings and stuff. They gave me a whole picture of Korea was a very different thing. But then I quickly got really ostracized, or because I couldn't speak fluent Korean. I couldn't read very good Korean and stuff. Brother Anthony, I met him back then, and he knows it. So many things that I was just so dazzled and stuff. But at the same time, that began my study of a lot of the Korean culture. I became a huge student of the Korean 영화, the cinema. Im Kwon-taek, Lee Chang-dong, Kim Ki-duk, Park Chan-wook, Hong Sang-soo, and so on. I started reading literature, Korean literature in translation, of course. Thank you to LTI. Many, Hyung Jin-gong, Isang, Kim So-woo, Hwang Sun-won, Jo Se-hee, Kim Sun-ok, Go-eun, Kusang. And I know some of these names, the Me Too movement has come and stuff, and I still consider them great writers and great filmmakers and such. I have to say that. I know there's been so much things going on, but Kusang, Park No-hye, Park Wan-soo, Lee Mun-yo, Park Hyung-hee, Lee Si-young, Kim Soo-bok, Kim Seung-hee, and many, many more. I came to really love Korean literature, which taught me a lot of the history that I just had snitches, spots and pieces about. For example, in Hyung Jin-gong's short story "A Lucky Day," just the ambivalent joy, just of the colonial period. Lee Sang's "The Wings" grows his imaginary by liberating wings at the end of the story. Kim Seung-ok's "Seoul," 1964 winter. I just was, the alienation I felt to these characters trying to, wander around this winter miasma, I guess you can call it, There was Park Hyung-hee's, Toji, or Land, 16 volumes. I just was so amazed by the vast amount of literature this was going. I went to a bookstore in front of Yonsei University, a used bookstore, and I bought the 3 volumes. I couldn't read it, but I was just so impressed by his. I bought these 3 volumes. I took it home. It's in my bookshelf in Hawaii, and I look at it. Great, This is just. I get so impressed by that, I'm not going to read it, but it's just so powerful. I mean, wow, So. Again, coming to Korea, this time opened a new direction in my life and such. 이야기가 한국에 가거라. 네, 할머니. 이야기가 한국에입니다. Yes, Grandma. I'm in Korea now. I'm trying my best. I'm also, again, the whole question of identity. I feel myself, I am a local person from Hawaii, and I can't deny that. That's my strong sense. And at the same time, I'm very, very fiercely proud of my Korean ancestry, of course, So besides my current position in the Department of English at the University of Hawaii at Manoa, member of the Center for Korean Studies there, Korean-American short fiction. I teach contemporary Korean and Korean-American short fiction at Iwa International Summer College, where I share my thoughts about Korean literature and students from Korea, Kyopo students all over the world, actually, and almost all of them come away from the class with a deep understanding of the breadth, depth, the beauty of Korean literature. For me, each time rereading, revisiting the stories gives me the living sense of the depth and humanity of the literature of my ancestral homeland and returns me to my first experience with this sense of Koreanness. There are times when I can see why Halmeoni and the other Halmeoni improvising a dance from their Kaesong childhood with white handkerchiefs, swirling and snapping in the air with the changu, and it brings to me the resonance of the old resinous wood that connected me as a young boy to a mystical place that I conjured through my grandparents' oral traditions, to my ancestral homeland that at the time when I was a young boy, I could only surmise about. 이야기가 한국에 가거라. Thank you.
네. 게리 연기 박사님께는 아무튼 잘 들었습니다. 카테고리가 무효하기도 한데 없는 것이 더 좋을 것 같기도 한데 오히려 어떤 측면에서는 수많은 카테고리가 존재함으로 해서 한 카테고리의 어떤 권위를 허물어뜨리고 다양한 시선을 만들 수도 있을 것 같아요. 그런 측면에서 제가 선생님 이력을 보니까 한국학센터에서 여러 강의를 하시는데 문화 강의도 하시고 하는데 문학 창작 강의도 하시더라고요. 근데 이것이 한국학센터다 보니까 한국학센터에서 하는 문학 창작 강의가 한국학센터이기 때문에 그 특정할 수 있는 어떤 한국문학적 요소라는 것이 그 속에서 혹시 이렇게 발휘되고 있는지 창작 강의 속에서 그것이 좀 궁금합니다. 네, 이렇게 질문 마치겠습니다.
네, 두 분께 질문을 하셨는데 우리 아스트리 선생님 먼저 했지만은 게리영 선생님 먼저 말씀하시고
네,
그 다음에 아스트리 선생 얘기하시면 좋을 것 같습니다.
If I understand the question, is there when I teach creative writing, do I try to impact my students with some sense of Koreanness and stuff? I have to preface this by that my ancestry, of course, is Korean. And there are things about me that I feel that, like for example, at times I can be very hot-tempered, I guess, very impetuous sometimes. But I think overall, I feel like and if I topple the cart, I'm an internationalist, I feel, I feel like part of me, whatever is Korean, whatever is American, whatever is Polynesian or Hawaiian, I think I'm a complexity of all these things. And sometimes when I come to Korea or I go to the United States or wherever I go, I'm kind of branded a certain kind of person, which I would accept as long as it's not derogatory, because I am proud of being all these things. And so to ask the question about how I teach, my teaching methods are just really conditioned by my experiences in the American education system, which in a lot of ways I've been rebelling against too, in that sense. For example, when I teach creative writing, I usually use the workshop method, but I feel that workshop method, for example, doesn't quite work. I don't think works. I think that what happens best is when you have a one-to-one kind of a situation. And I think that in some ways, what I understand of how writers have become writers in Korea, it's like through and I got to say this in a certain sense. I think that a lot of writers in Korea have this sense of correct me if I'm wrong, the sense of Han stuff, the sense of history. And I think it's when you go through a sense of an education system, when you go through a educational manufacturing system, you can produce great writers. You can write technically great sentences, they can plot things. But if they don't have a kind of sense of that passion of something, and I think that I don't think that the writing doesn't work. And I see that. I got to say this. I see this in a lot of writing among the young people and some people who just want to be writers. I want to be famous. I want to be this. they don't have a sense of responsibility, I think. And I think that, I don't know if I'm answering your question, but that's how I'll stop here, you know, because there's